Let's go!
Hey everybody, Coach Scott here, and today I am extremely blessed to share a message with you on this Father's Day. So first of all, let me just say Happy Father's Day to everybody out there. Happy Father's Day to all you fathers and all you soon-to-be fathers, and especially those single fathers out there. I know how difficult and how challenging it can be a single father trying to navigate this, and that's one of the fastest growing populations of our culture is single fathers. And all the people that have served as surrogate fathers to young men and young women, all you coaches and teachers out there that are making a difference in their children's lives. And so I'm so grateful for that. I heard it said one time that G.K. Chesterton said, a true soldier fights not because of what he hates that's in front of him, but because what he loves that's behind him. And I think that's important. And in every day, and in some way, whether we realize it or not, there are fathers who are trying to persevere and trying to protect their families and protect our children. They're willing to do this at the expense of all kinds of things, convenience and supreme sacrifices that people make every single day, not only for their very own lives, but for their children and for their families. And so again, I just want to encourage you today. I want to say Happy Father's Day to all of you out there listening to this video. And it requires a great amount of courage to be a father. And it's hard to find that type of courage in today's culture. So not only is it the type of courage that's needed on the battlefront of everyday life, but it's also needed on the home front as well. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about today, about what it means to me to be a courageous father, and for us dads to step up and to do the things that are necessary. And the first thing that we've all got to do as fathers and as dads and as husbands and as leaders is we've got to take a stand. It's time for us men to be counted. It's time for us to stand up. It's time for us to get in the heat of the battle. And a good father will stand his ground always, not because it's easy and not because it's enjoyable all the time, but it's because it comes with the territory of being a father, being a man, being a real man. And there will be times as dads when we must stand our ground as the head of our homes because it's what God has called us to do. And there's going to be all these voices out there that continue to threaten us and to tell us to back down and to submit to our culture. And to not be effective in our homes, those same voices that would downplay the importance of our roles as fathers, and those voices that would tell us that our families' rules and values are outdated and they're not that important, that we need to lighten up in those areas. But again, there's something inside of us naturally, innately, that God's created us instinctively that knows that that is not what we need to do. And it comes with the territory of being a dad and being a father. And we're responsible for that vision. We're responsible for our families. We're responsible for leadership in the directions of our homes. Now, and that requires us to stand up. That requires us to stand up for our family, our values, and it requires us to really, really take a stand when it's not always easy. And we also got to fight. We got to start being fighters. We need some dads out there. We need some men out there that's going to fight for their families and fight for our freedoms and fight for our values. A good father knows that there is a real enemy who threatens the safety of everything that we hold dear. And again, if we're not willing to fight for it and protect it, we're going to lose it. And there's going to be times as dads when we have to fight for our families to protect them. We've got to protect their futures. And even when this makes us look like the bad guy, and sometimes it does, there are so many things that sometimes seem harmless, yet that can potentially threaten our family and our values and their well-being. And so we must always stay on the alert. We've got to stay informed. We've got to stay engaged. And we've got to fight through our fatherly position. And we've got to make sure that we're present. And we've got to make sure that we're staying prayed up. And then speaking of prayed up, we got to kneel. We got to get on our knees. Men, every courageous dad, every courageous father must be humble enough to get on your knees for the sake of your families. Because again, on the battlefields of history, countless prayers, countless times there were people that just broke down, got on their knees, and basically all throughout recorded history, people have known that we're up against a much bigger enemy than most people think. And we've got to rely on something that's bigger than ourselves. And we need help, and we need guidance, and we need somebody more powerful than us. And the same is true for us being as dads. Our job is tough, and the responsibility is often bigger than we realize. So we need that help that comes from above. We need far greater support from a spiritual standpoint than most people even realize. And a courageous dad, you've got to be humble enough to get on your knees and go to the Lord for your family. But there's some things I want to encourage you with as we think about being a courageous dad and being a champion for our families and for our children. I think the greatest thing we can do as fathers is we got to teach our children to love their mother. That's right. You got to love your wife without reservation. You got to love their mother. And I believe it's the single most important thing. One of my mentors taught me this years and years ago, and the best advice I've ever got, even if you're divorced, you've got to treat your children's mother with respect, even if she doesn't treat you the same way. That's what it takes to be a courageous dad. That's what it takes to be a championship father. And number two, you got to love your children. You got to love your family unconditionally. You got to make sure that your children know that you love them no matter what. Tell them, show them, spend time with them. Don't just talk about it. You got to be about it. You got to be about it. And then number three, you got to be their father and not their friend. There will be a time that you will be their friend, but not right now. You got to be their father. Children don't need another friend. They don't need another buddy. They don't need another Facebook or a like on their social media platforms. They need somebody that's going to allow them to make tough decisions in life, especially when things get hard. And they need somebody they can count on. And then you got to be a giver. One of the things I learned from my grandfather and from my mentors is that I'm not just talking about material things. I'm talking about stable home and love and affection. You got to give your time, your testimony, your talents, and your treasures to let them know how much you care about them. But they also need discipline. Children appreciate structure. They appreciate balance and accountability. And most importantly, they appreciate discipline. It's called consistency, and without clearly defined boundaries, and in today's culture, it is very easy to get out of balance very, very quickly. You can't produce healthy children and productive children if they don't have clear boundaries. And then you got to teach them how to take responsibility. And one of the things that I've tried to really do with our own kids is teach them that life is going to be hard and you have a choice to make. If you always take the easy way out, your life will be harder. But if you always do the hard things first, your life will become easier. And a wise father, a championship dad, makes sure that their children know how to own up to their mistakes and how to move forward and take responsibility for their lives. And then finally, championship dads, courageous dads, teach their children how to love people. My grandmother taught us that you'll always be remembered by how you treat people. And the best predictor of happiness in children and predicting their future is how they treat themselves and others. So if we'll show our children how to love people and then give that blessing back to them and tell them to love others, they will be well prepared, they'll be ready for life, and they'll be designed to live the life that God wants them to live, and they'll be all that they were created to be. So God bless you guys. Happy Father's Day, and I will see you on the next video. Take care. I'll see you soon.